this culture in this society is like driving everyone, pushing everyone towards that. There's very little balance in our culture, in our mainstream culture, you know, and it's about showing people there are other ways to be. There are other ways, it's like to raise your children, environments in which you can raise your children to be part of the community. They're not all going to be the same. That's the beauty of it, you know, but they're all going to have an idea about, you know, community and like, you know,
well, and a sense of shared values, that they have some values that are universal truths, you know, that we come together and we agree,
cooperate,
right, on certain things, that this is the way. It doesn't mean that everybody has to eat the same way or school the same way or, you know, do whatever the same way, but that there are some basic universal truths on how we need to function. And this,
even like the idea of money, you know, very few people even know what money is, and money is just an idea. It is, perception is reality with that, because it's worthless, there's nothing behind it. Even if you're talking about gold or silver, it's just the value that we place on it, right? And you talk about bartering and things like that, and that is very interesting to me. My fiance just finished reading this book called The Lost Science of Money, which is like another book that's that thick. But it's a history of money and the idea of money and how money used to be law, you know, and now money is debt. And it's like all the system that they had in the Roman times and all of this history that's completely left out of our education, that says money wasn't always what it is today, and there have been many different systems. And this idea of you know, of exchange. It's an exchange of energy. And the idea of profit doesn't always have to be bad. I mean, profit can be wherein two people are benefiting and profiting, and where you have something of value and I have something of value, and we find it more of value than the other, and we exchange that, and we're both getting what we want, and we both have perceive, just like you perceive with money, perceive that you have more, you know? And it's like the profit system that we have now is always at the cost, at like the high cost, right? The suffering of entire countries, entire peoples, right? And so it's like, if we could just take that aspect out of it and say, look, there's this other system, you know, wherein things can work. And it doesn't mean we're hippies. You know, it doesn't mean that we're like, oh, like a bunch of like love everybody hippie. No, it just means that there's a better way, and that this way clearly doesn't work. It's like we're all running off a cliff. And if we look at this other way of cooperation, then, you know, we can start seeing some hope for a sustainable future, like where we can all have air, water, and food, and the basic things that we need, you know? So.
Do you have anything to add to that? I know you do.
No, I mean, I definitely agree that we need to be transparent and really loud, vocal. It's time to really, you know, like start shouting that there is another way, because clearly it's not working.
Make a path for you.
Whoa. I've been really playing with the idea of bartering and thinking of it at a real fundamental level, that it does automatically start to generate the relearning of these skills, because of you need to have something to barter with. You have to like broaden your playing field, like have more chips, so you start to want to learn these skills so you can barter with more people. And I don't know, I think that once we start to utilize it more and put the paper illusion out of the, you know, the third person, the third party, take it away, and just start to, you know, cut the middleman out. And
right, exactly. But in order to do that, it's
for a revolution, you know.
Up the revolution. That's my new bumper sticker. Did you guys see it on the door?
Yeah, I actually got that bumper sticker here like 4 years ago, and it's all like.
Yeah, I was so excited. Last night we sponsored a talk on conscious evolution, and it was interesting because the idea of currency came up, and I couldn't keep my mouth shut about the Federal Reserve, but what they had said was that the currency started with the language began because of currency, like that's the reason language began, so that we could begin those conversations, those dialogues of exchange. I thought that was kind of an interesting concept to think about why we formulated language, you know, because of finding a way to exchange. there's some pretty interesting conversations, and I think a lot of people are thinking now about this world, you know, that we're living in, and wanting to do things differently. I mean, everybody that's coming in here to the cafe, at least, they're having these conversations. People that you wouldn't think that would be thinking about these things. There is that. I just want to know, how do we capitalize on that, and how do we really mobilize that and take that to that step of action, and not. And again, that's what we were talking about last night too. Is like, we can talk about it. What are we going to do about it? Like, we can sit here and have the conversations, and you know, I mean, and
Right,
I've read
absolutely.
all the books.
Well, I
And
think
how do we
first
quickly
kind of all
access
need to
that
get on the same
information?
page, right? In terms of information.
Right.
And in terms of like, what, you know, how did we get here? You don't necessarily need to like understand the entire history of money, but we need to have at least a comprehension of the systems that existed up until now and how it evolved to what it is today, right? And the central banking system and the whole idea of that, because it's always existed for us. It's my status quo. I didn't even understand like the difference, like what between a central bank or, you know, what like say Lincoln was doing, creating the greenbacks during the Civil War, printing his own money. You know, it's like, I don't even know why was Alexander Hamilton for it and this other one Jefferson against it. I don't know, but now I understand. It's because he who controls the money. It's like Meyer Rothschild, who's the head of the Rothschild banking family from like, I don't know, way back in the day, who started it, said, I don't care who controls a nation in terms of who the leaders are, etc. All I care is who controls the money. Because if I control the money, then I control them. And it's the same system we have now. If you look at there was a recent Supreme Court decision that essentially is now going to allow endless amounts of money to flow from corporations to our politicians. They're all bought off. It's like Republican, Democrat, it's like, it doesn't matter. Before they even get in front of you, before they're presented to you, they've been chosen. Exactly.